General Krextor of the Galactic Dominion had conquered 47 worlds. His chitinous exoskeleton bore the scars of 1,000 battles, and his 4 arms had crushed the necks of countless warriors from across the galaxy. At 9 feet tall and weighing nearly half a ton, he was the embodiment of military might that had brought entire civilizations to their knees. So when the 17-year-old human boy dared to step between him and the terrified civilians of New Terra Colony, Krextor felt nothing but amused contempt. "Move aside, child," the general growled, his mandibles clicking with irritation. The translation device rendered his words in perfect standard galactic. Though the menace in his tone needed no translation. Marcus Chin stood his ground, his slight frame trembling but resolute. Behind him, families huddled together, mothers clutching their children, elderly folks who had survived the initial invasion, all looking to the teenager who had somehow become their unlikely protector in the bombed-out shelter. "I won't let you hurt them," Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly but carrying an undertone that made Krextor's antennae twitch with unease. The general's laugh was like grinding metal. "You, a mere hatchling? Do you know who I am, boy? I am Krextor the Unyielding. I have leveled mountains with my bare hands, and I don't care who you are." Marcus interrupted, something dangerous flickering in his brown eyes. "You're not touching them." That was when Krextor made his fatal mistake. In a burst of rage at the insolence, he backhanded the human teenager with one of his massive arms. The blow should have been instantly lethal enough force to cave. In the skull of a Regelian war-beast, Marcus flew backward, crashing through a concrete wall and disappearing into the rubble beyond. The civilian screamed. Krextor dusted off his claws, satisfied. "Now," he said, turning to the cowering humans, "let us discuss your surrender." The sound that emerged from the rubble was unlike anything the general had heard in 4 decades. Of warfare, it wasn't quite a roar, wasn't quite a scream. It was something primal and terrible that made his warriors' instincts scream danger even as his rational mind dismissed it as impossible. Marcus emerged from the debris, and Krextor's 4 hearts nearly stopped. The boy was standing. More than standing, he was radiating a kind of barely contained fury that seemed to bend the air around him. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, but his eyes had changed. They held something that the general had never seen before in all his conquests, something that made his exoskeleton suddenly feel inadequate. "That," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying clearly across the ruined shelter, "was a mistake." What happened next defied everything Krextor understood about physics, biology, and warfare. The human boy moved with impossible speed, covering the 30 feet between them in what seemed like a single heartbeat. Krextor, veteran of countless battles, barely had time to register the movement before Marcus's fist connected with his armored abdomen. The impact sent shockwaves through the general's body. His battle-tested exoskeleton, capable of deflecting plasma rounds, cracked like an eggshell. He doubled over, gasping, as pain unlike anything he'd ever experienced flooded his nervous system. But Marcus wasn't finished. With mechanical precision, the teenager began systematically dismantling the most feared warrior in the known galaxy. Each strike landed with surgical accuracy, finding gaps in the armor, pressure points that shouldn't have existed, vulnerabilities that no enemy had ever discovered. Krextor tried to fight back, swinging his 4 massive arms in desperate arcs. But the human boy moved like liquid lightning, always just beyond reach, always striking where it would hurt most. "Please," the general gasped after what felt like an eternity but had been perhaps 2 minutes. His exoskeleton was in ruins, his pride shattered along with several major bones. "Please, I yield." Marcus paused, breathing hard but showing no signs of fatigue. The fury in his eyes had settled into something colder, more calculating. "You yield?" Marcus asked, tilting his head. "Like those families on Kepler 442b yielded before you glassed their planet? Like the children on Proxima Station yielded before you spaced them?" Krextor's compound eyes widened. How could this backwater human know about classified military operations? "The thing about humans," Marcus continued conversationally, even as he grabbed one of the general's arms and applied pressure that made the alien scream, is that we remember everything, every atrocity, every war crime, every innocent life you've taken. And when you hurt someone we care about, he increased the pressure slightly, and Krextor felt bones begin to splinter. We become something else entirely. For the next 3 minutes, General Krextor experienced a level of systematic, precise agony that his warrior culture had no words for. The human boy worked with the methodical patience of a surgeon and the creativity of an artist, finding new ways to inflict pain that bypassed every defense the general's enhanced physiology possessed. It wasn't torture. It was education. Kill me, Krextor finally begged, his voice barely a whisper. Please, just kill me. Marcus stepped back, breathing normally despite the carnage he'd wrought. The fury in his eyes had been replaced by something worse: disappointment. Death is too easy, he said. You're going to live. You're going to remember this moment for the rest of your very long life. And every time you think about raising a hand against an innocent person, you're going to feel this pain all over again. The teenager turned to the cowering civilians, his expression softening instantly. Are you all okay? As the families rushed to thank their unlikely savior, Krextor lay broken on the floor, finally understanding the galaxy's greatest mistake. They had dismissed humanity as weak because humans were small, because they seemed fragile, because they chose compassion over conquest. But they had missed the fundamental truth that every parent, every teacher, every big brother or sister knew instinctively. There is nothing more dangerous in the universe than a human who has decided that someone else's safety is more important than their own. The Galactic Dominion's invasion of human space ended 12 hours later, when the footage of General Krextor's defeat reached the Dominion High Command. The withdrawal was immediate and unconditional. Marcus Chun returned to his job at the colony's hydroponics facility the next day, as if nothing had happened. But across the galaxy, in the darkest corners of space where predators gather and plan their next conquest, a new understanding began to spread. Humans were not prey. They were something far more terrifying. They were protectors, and when you threatened what they protected, you didn't just face their wrath, you faced the awakening of something ancient and implacable that had been sleeping in their genes since they first stood upright on an African savanna and decided that the tribe mattered more than the self. General Krextor never fully recovered from his injuries, but he lived. And sometimes, late at night in his medical facility, he would wake screaming from dreams where a human teenager's eyes burned with the cold fire of justice itself. The dreams never stopped.